Hey everybody, what's going on? This is your boy Armando X, and we have a very, very, very special guest today on Raw Club Archives podcast. My man, Mr. Louie Gomez, one of the pioneers of house music. And I just want to give you the floor, brother. Just introduce yourself and just tell us about who you are.
Hey, what's up, Armando? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad to be invited onto your platform to come and talk a little bit about myself and a little bit of the house music history, with you and have that dialogue with you. I really appreciate you asking. Thank you.
Of
Um,
course.
I'm from Chicago,
Hmm.
and I grew up on the South Side and uh,
Mm.
got my start in music, DJing, very young age, like 15, 16 years old, and just mixing for, these basement parties that I was having. And that led me to, you know, meeting different people in that area. I met this young guy named Jamie Principal just out of the blue
Mm.
one night. I was working at a mall and we came across each other in the hallway and we stopped and have a conversation about the clothes he was wearing. It was as simple as that.
What
And
was he wearing?
he was wearing straight leg Levi's, one purple Converse gym shoe, and one, I think it was like pink Converse gym shoe. I forgot, or maybe it might have been red. It might have been purple and red. He had
Mm.
lavender knit gloves on, this vintage wool baseball jacket from the 1950s. Uh,
Wow.
and these really cool wraparound Fiorucci sunglasses, and his hair was all spiky. Nobody looked like that out here.
Mm.
Nobody. And he stuck out
Mm.
like in the crowd, and I was like, I gotta talk to this guy. And it's so funny about those sunglasses. He let me borrow them once, and I ended up breaking them by mistake. to
What
this
you?
day, to this day, we keep joking. I'm like, I owe you a pair of Fiorucci sunglasses. We'll never find those again. I mean, once they ran out, that was it. Um, but yeah, we just started talking. We became fast friends after that. We had a mutual interest in fashion and music, especially our music. I mean, like our things that influenced us were like the alternative dance stuff that was coming from Europe. Um, we were interested in like R&B stuff, of course, disco music. I mean that to me is like my biggest influence. But Jamie and I had this love for all this variety, and we became friends, over the years. And
Mm.
once I got a little bit older and I started going to the warehouse, I think I started going there at like 17. I would share my stories with him because he had he was in a strict household, so he couldn't go out. Whereas me, like
Mm.
I always risked it. I got in trouble all the time, but I went out after hours, going to these parties, coming home at 6 in the morning, getting my butt chewed out by my parents. They were more worried about what happened to me
Mm.
and what could possibly happen, but we were good kids. We just wanted to go out and dance. It was me and a small group of people that I would go out with. And we ended up, I mean, we first started at the parties that the chosen few were DJing at. I mean, they played all over the place. Um, and we were basically dancing to disco music. That's what it was. It was disco. This is pre-house. And we dressed up back in the day. We wore our disco outfits, and the girls that we went out with, they all wore high heels, and they were like these really cool like disco outfits. If you go back and look at the disco archives, that's how they were dressed. And we thought we were grown, but we were 17. We thought we were grown ass people, right? And we went to these great parties. The Chosen Few, they played all over the place. I eventually ended up meeting Craig Loftus and Laurie Branch, and we became really, really good friends. Um, they were starting a little DJ group called Vertigo, and they invited me to join them. And I was like,
Mm.
hold up, you guys have to learn how to mix. They weren't really clear on that, so I mentored them in blending tracks together. Um,
This
and
is after you had already gotten your realistic mixer, right?
oh,
From
yeah,
radio.
absolutely,
So
yeah,
by
yeah,
by now, so you're 17 years old. You got skills now. Like you
right,
know
right,
how to
right.
mix, blend, build up tension in the
Blending
party,
was
all
my
that.
thing. Like I could hold the blend. I mean, that it was really hard too because these disco records were like these were live musicians. They weren't perfect, timed. they were very close, but I had all my vinyl, like, I had written the BPM on everything. I knew that the intro was at 120. And then as soon as it changed to this breakdown, it goes to 122. And then at the end of the song is 124 beats per minute. Like the songs would change tempo. That's just how it was. And you just kind of have to know.
How did you know what the BPM was? You were just counting back then?
I would count with my watch for 60 seconds. I would count the beats, 60 seconds, and then I multiply that by two.
That is
Every
crazy,
single
man.
record. Yeah, yeah. And all of my old vinyl, I still have a lot of it. If you look on the covers, like the 12 inches, it's got all the numbers written in magic marker. It's all faded now, but you can see where I wrote all that stuff. And then if there were changes in tempo, I would write that too. I would write intro 122, breakdown 123.5, whatever it was. Some of them, they were pretty steady, but a lot of them, they weren't. So anyway, we got together and we were playing, and I got to play as part of Vertigo with them.
Mhm.
But my interest was starting to expand a little bit. And I remember like hanging out with Jamie one day at his home, and he played me this track. It was called Your Love. And he played it off of like a 4-track recorder, I believe. And I was listening to it. I'm like, man, I love this track. And just off the cuff, I said, you should let me do a remix. Only
Mm,
thinking that like it's too short. You know,
mm.
by the time it's over, it's like, oh man, I wanted to hear more. And I didn't think anything about it. And then a few months later, he calls me. He's like, hey, come down to the studio on this day and do that remix you're talking about. And I was like, okay. I've never done a remix before. I had no idea. So I'm like, okay. So it was way up on the north side. It was in Evanston, Illinois, which is like a probably like a 50-minute drive from here. And
Mm.
I went with my friend. We smoked up on the way up there. Oh my, I was high as fuck when I got there. I was so nervous. I think out of just trying to calm my nerves. So I got there, and it's Jamie, um, the engineer Jerry Soto, and we're in this studio that was, I think it was a garage. It seemed like it. It felt like it. And he played the track for me, and I started taking notes, and then just said, okay, let's extend this part. And I'm talking to the engineer, and I'm asking him, how do we extend this like intro, this arpeggio? And he's like, well, we can just play it, record it on this other reel, and we'll just edit it so it's longer. So we did that. We began to construct the song, and it was at my direction. Okay, okay, now I want the space line to come in. Let's bring it in, and that would happen. And then I tried some effects on the drums, um, and we ended up with this like 8.5 minute song. And it wasn't a complete vocal mix. I would call it like a vocal dub. It never saw the light of day. It never got released on vinyl, which is a shame. But I got a copy of the tape, and I took that tape to Frankie Knuckles. Frankie and I belonged to the same record pool. Frankie was spinning at the Warehouse, and I waited around for him on a Thursday, because that was the day the DJs would show up, and we would get our records from the record pool. We used to get promos every week. The A-list DJs got all the really good stuff. We got whatever was left over. I didn't care. Like, I mean, yeah,
So let's stop right because
yeah.
because this is amazing, man. You just saying this like it's all just like I mean it is regular for you, but like this is amazing.
Yeah.
First and foremost, um, you and Frankie Knuckles were in the same record pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So what
IRS Record Pool, Independent Record Services, and it was right downtown. It was so weird. That was located, like how downtown areas of a city have parking garages.
yeah.
This was located inside a parking garage, and there was this like place that they made like an office and a little record store. I eventually ended up working there, years later, but
Mm.
it was like a bootleg office. It was so weird, but you take what you can get. I was lucky that I was accepted to be part of the record pool. I was lucky.
How would you go about getting accepted back in
You
those
first of all, you have to be a DJ at a club, and I was
days?
DJing at this gay bar out in the suburbs, and that qualified me. and I was technically not supposed to be there because I'm not 21. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I kind of lied my way through it. I had a fake ID that said I was 35. Um, yeah, I know. And they didn't care. They just had somebody to play music, and they paid me in cash, and I made so much money at that place. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my god, look at all this money, and for a kid, like, and I would play every night. Anyway, um, so I ran into Frankie, and I'm like, hey, I did this project with my friend. Will you take a listen to it? And by
Mm.
that time, I was already going to the warehouse on Saturday nights.
And you would go to the warehouse on Saturday nights after you were done DJing, or
I didn't spin it on Saturdays because
oh,
they
you
had
didn't spend
shows.
on.
They had shows at that bar,
Okay,
so
okay.
that was a night off for me. But
Gotcha.
otherwise, I would have. So I'm down at the club with friends on that following Saturday. So I gave them a tape on Thursday. That following Saturday, you know, we've been dancing our asses off for hours. 3 in the morning, and I remember this like the back of my hand. 3 in the morning, all the lights would cut out. It just cut out, and all of a sudden you hear the arpeggio intro to the remix, and I was like, oh my god! And I'm jumping up and down, and I'm telling my friends, I'm like, this is my track. This is the remix. This is the remix. And my friends had no idea what I was talking about. They didn't know what remixes were or wow what a track was. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 that bass line, and then the drums kicked in, and people started dancing to it. Frankie again played it a little bit later on, so that was 3 in the morning. He probably played it again like 5:30 or 6, and then he played it every freaking weekend
Mm,
and created an anthem out of it. Like nobody
mm.
knew who this artist was; they just knew it sounded different. Now his vocals; they were on that track. They're sort of like they're haunting, they're
They
sexy,
are.
they're different. It's not like the other stuff we were hearing.
They are.
And so people assumed it's some European artist, and that was kind of funny. Um, and I'm trying to get Jamie. I'm like, you gotta come out with me one night. You gotta hear they're playing your track there. And first he was a little miffed because he asked me not to like share it with anybody. I'm like, but it's at the club. I mean,
It's a
you
big
gotta
deal.
be you
Yeah.
gotta be happy about that. So
Yeah.
finally, I finally got him out. I don't know if it was the warehouse or the power plant, because the power
Mhm.
plant is where Frankie went after the warehouse closed. I'm not sure which one it was because it was a whole year later that they finally ended up meeting. Yeah, it was a long time.
What?
It was a long time, and
Wow.
yeah, it's so funny. But okay, I'm gonna say it was probably by the time the power plant came along that Jamie was able to finally get out of the house. I think his parents were away for the weekend. We took the bus all the way downtown and stayed out, and they got to meet. Jamie was doing a lot of other stuff too. And what happened, I don't know why it happened this way, but what happened was it was almost like Frankie swooped in and got Jamie under his wings, and I was never involved with anything further than that. And I
Mm,
don't know why. I don't know why.
mm,
Jamie assumed that I was going to be. He would ask like, "Hey, where's Louie or Jose?" Because back then they would call me Jose.
mhm.
Where's Jose? Isn't Jose going to be here? And I don't know what the response was, but I
Mm.
mean, we have our own theories, but I don't want to speculate on anything. Um,
So you've talked to Jamie about this, like, yo,
Oh, we
what
talk about this stuff
happened?
all the time. We talk about it all
Mhm.
the time. He's like, I don't understand why you weren't there.
And
So
what does he say that Frankie said? He's just like Frankie was just like,
I think Frankie would sidestep the question, and there's other people in the room too, and I don't think he wanted to put him on the spot. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know, but to me, it
And
doesn't really
yeah,
matter. It happened the way it happened, and that's the way it
yeah.
is. Um, the shame of all of that stuff is later when the track was actually released on Chicago Tracks Records, Jamie's name wasn't even on there. I mean,
Yeah,
it said Frankie Knuckles presents, and it's like, wait a minute,
yeah,
what? All of the
yeah,
and it was like that. There was like Baby Wants to Ride and a couple of other tracks on the same 12-inch. I'm like, oh, that is not a good look. But it
yeah.
happened the way it happened. We don't know. I mean, Frankie probably gave them all the information, whatever the guy that was running Chicago Tracks, and they
Larry
let.
Sherman?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sherman, yeah.
Yeah. And he probably said, well, Frankie's the one with the bigger name. Let's just put that on here. So
Yeah.
it could have been, there's so many things that could have happened. And, Chicago back in the day, people were ripping each other off like crazy. I mean, there were bootlegs of bootlegs, and there were other artists, up and coming artists like Jesse Saunders and Farley, who would take Jamie's tracks and redo them with a different vocalist and release it as their own. I'm like, that's how it was, like the Wild West.
Yeah.
And you can either like be butthurt about it and carry all this resentment, or be like, oh well, that's the way things were, and move on. Because I know for me, like, I have a million other ideas that are happening. I
Mm,
don't care to live in the past.
I
um
understand.
I'm more like interested in running my label,
Mm,
putting out good music, curating music for my label, and
yeah.
putting out top productions. And that's going to be my legacy.
It
I,
is.
I think, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I was involved with Jamie, and I'm so happy that we are still really good friends to this day. I
Mhm.
cherish him like nobody else. And we talk about this all the time. Like, wow, we survived that, but man, were we naive. We really didn't know
Mhm.
that this was going to blow up, because otherwise we would have documented the hell out of this, and we would have not have signed contracts, and we would have avoided this and have avoided that, and maybe
Mhm.
recorded it on our own and pressed it ourselves. Like, we didn't know that was available. We
Mm.
didn't know. We thought records were for, yes, the big people do that. We didn't know we can go to a local record plant and get this stuff pressed. I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't even
Wow.
have the funds to do it. So to be honest with you, I don't even know if I would have been doing that. So
This
it,
all is like is really, impactful. And I think, before we started recording and stuff like that, we were talking about how, in the last interview, you did with Maurice Joshua for every
that's exactly a year ago. It's exactly a year ago.
what? That
Yeah.
is crazy, man.
Yeah.
That is really crazy.
Yep.
But what I wanted to like, rehash that you said, just like a few minutes ago was that, we were talking about how what made I feel like Chicago House so amazing, especially during that time, was y'all made it and laid the blueprint, I feel like, for the bedroom producer. Like
Uh-huh.
before Chicago, that whole concept of, just make it, kids, like, cause y'all were kids, like y'all was
Yeah.
17,
Mhm.
younger than that, making tracks in your rooms and like that whole concept was unheard of. And do you think like back then you didn't realize, wow, you didn't really understand the gravity of what you were doing. Like you kind of was like, oh, this is, we just making little remixes, like you
We didn't
didn't
even think of it
really
as remixes. We just thought of it as, we're emulating the records that we like. I honestly, I was trying to make disco music. That's what I was trying. But there's no way I could do it without a full like 15-piece band. So I'm
yeah.
doing the very minimal, not knowing that this minimal music with a synthesizer and a drum machine, we didn't even have samplers yet, because samplers were too expensive. So it was just drum machines and synths. Samplers they came into play a couple of years down the line, because back then, I mean, they were $15,000. You know,
Jesus.
groups like, Phil Collins and Depeche Mode and groups like that, they could afford that. We
Hmm.
couldn't. When I got a sampling drum machine, oh my God, I was like in heaven. But it only recorded like 16 seconds of sample, so I could only record drum hits
Yeah.
into it. But that's beside the point. We didn't know, like you said, what was going to come of it. What we're trying to do is emulate, and we didn't know that these simple tracks, these simple basic tracks themselves, were going to blow up. The simplicity of them made it new, unique, different, and for that time.
What
So,
drum machine was your like weapon of choice, as I may.
well, I went in a different direction. Everybody else was using 808s and 909s. I went with the
Mm.
Korg, the DDM 110, and the percussion unit, the DDM 220. So it was a pair that went together. And they had more like a realistic drum, if you want to say realistic for back then.
Hmm.
The other ones are more like a synthesized bass kind of drum.
Yeah.
Um, so the stuff that I did sounded different. It sounded
Mhm.
different. Jamie had the Roland, I think it was the 727. It's the little silver box, that drum machine. And I love
Yeah.
those drum sounds. Even to this day, those are really cool drum sounds.
Hmm.
But yeah, the early stuff he was doing, that was the drum unit. He hadn't switched over to a 909. I'm not sure what he's using now. Um,
Was your drum machines? Did Roland make those ones?
no, it was Korg.
It was Korg. Okay, it was,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
Korg.
makes sense that you would gravitate towards those because you were trying to recreate that disco sound and
Right,
that was a live
exactly. Yeah.
instrument. So you were like, okay, this sounds closest to what I'm
It
trying to do.
sounds closest, yeah. But also, if I'm going to be honest with you, it
Hmm.
was cheaper than the Roland stuff. I could afford this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the Korg Monopoly, and the reason I had the Korg Monopoly is because Jamie had that, and I wanted to like, oh, I want those sounds, and
Okay.
I could recreate that bass sound, and
Yeah.
yeah, but it was a mono synth though. So like I could
Yeah.
only do so much with it. If I wanted to do chords, I have to record one note and then do another track with another note. It took too long. So
Mm.
I was still learning, and my stuff sounded very rudimentary, and I knew that I had a long way to go. So rather than jump on the bandwagon and
Hmm.
like put out like these tracks that were like dun 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 dun. I kind of got sick of that. Honestly, I was like, coming from the disco background, those tracks didn't cut it for me. And the
It
difference
was
between
stark differences. Yeah.
right,
It
and the
was stark
difference between Jamie's stuff and that stuff like dun 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 was his music were they were full songs, full.
Yeah.
There was verse, chorus, verse, and then a bridge. There was full production. There was bass, drums, percussion. There were lead vocals, background vocals. There were chords and strings. So it was fuller sounding. With this
Yeah.
other stuff that came out that's considered, Chicago house. Hey, I listen to it now, and I have a great appreciation for it. Um, but during that time, I was like, yeah, it's too simple. It's too basic.
It
What I
wasn't
did,
doing it for you.
I went and started working in recording studios because I wanted to learn the craft more. So I worked at Crystal Recording Studios and To the Limit Recording Studios with Erasmo Rivera. Erasmo Rivera is the guy that used to do the edits for Frankie Knuckles. He would do like all the tape edits. If you heard like any special versions that Frankie would play, it was because Erasmo did the edits on that. So I worked at his studio, and that's where I learned audio production. That's where I learned how to engineer. I was the MIDI engineer at Crystal Recording Studios, and I was the engineer for anyone that wasn't a full band. So I was like engineering for rap groups, singles or duos or like small groups, electronic music, musicians that would come in and want to cut a demo. I was their engineer. And so I learned how to record. All that I brought forward to this day. It's the same music theory that applies. Um,
Mm.
and
What's that main music theory that you?
the audio engineering.
Mm.
That's that.
Okay.
Whereas my friend Craig Loftus, he went to Columbia College and he earned a degree in audio engineering.
Yeah.
I earned my
Shout out Craig
degree
Loftus.
working at the studio. Like that's it was different. And then all of us, we all attended Frankie Knuckle University because um, hang on a second. This
Okay.
There was a pop up. Because we would sit in the booth at the power plant. I would go every Friday night and just plop myself down in the booth and just like study everything he was doing. Why
And
is he
this is
picking that song? Oh, he's playing this. Oh, he's using the 909 now. He's going to bring that in. Oh, this next track he's playing off a reel to reel. Okay, and so I watched how he combined all of this stuff, and I'm like, and I took that and applied it to my DJ sets. So when I would play, I would do that. I bought the same Pioneer. Is it? I think it's Pioneer. The 727. I don't remember, but the reel to reel recorder, I got the same one, and I was doing
mm,
my own edits and playing my re-edits of tracks
mm,
and in my sets, in my disco sets, and that I would play. Um,
wow.
and some of my edits found their way. to like Ron Hardy. I remember he asked me for a copy of Cathedrals because he heard Frankie play it. And Cathedrals was an old disco song from 1977 by DC LaRue. And it's one of my favorite tracks because of that bass line and those haunting vocals. And I just did a re-edit of it. And yeah, I gave a copy to Ron. And I was, we weren't friends or anything, but like we ran across each other
Was
at
he in the same record pool as you and Frankie?
I don't know if he was in the pool or not, but he would come to imports. I'm not sure if he was in the pool, but he would come there and pick up vinyl.
And let me
And then,
ask you this.
yeah,
Like, so earlier you mentioned, because you're saying so much cool stuff, but like you mentioned that y'all were kind of like B-list DJs. So who were the A-list DJs?
well, people that were spinning at the big clubs downtown, Frankie Knuckles was one of them.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
There was a lot of places like Faces nightclub, um, uh, Paradise, all the like the name
I see.
discos. Yeah, there were
I
some real back then. Chicago had tons, dozens and dozens and dozens of discos, main big discos that attracted like hundreds of people of night. So those are like the A-list
you feel
DJs.
like made, the warehouse and the music box as well, like so quintessential, like stand out from all of those other places.
What the music, the choice of music.
Mm.
Okay, in Frankie's, at the warehouse in particular, and this crosses over to the power plant. That music was non-commercial. You did not hear the stuff that you heard on disco radio. Whereas like some of the other discos in town, you'd hear more commercial stuff. And that's okay. There's a place for that. This was definitely underground. Um,
Mm.
the sound systems were better. For some reason, it just everything sounded like thunder.
Wow.
I feel I don't know. This is the way I look at it. We were the last generation to dance to like what I consider big band music because these
Mm.
recordings were recorded by groups of musicians that were like 15 or 20 people in that group, you know, 4 to 6 piece, horn section, xylophone, drummer, percussionist, maybe even another percussionist on top of that, two guitarists, a bass player. I mean, there's a lot of people in this group, 4 or 5 vocalists. Those are big bands. And I think we were the last generation to dance to that kind of stuff. And it was reproduced on these sound systems that was made to reproduce that kind of music in that way.
Mm.
Whoever these guys were that set up these sound systems, I mean, they were geniuses. I don't know anything about that. You'd have to talk to Craig about that. But
Do you think
yeah,
Robert Williams has a lot to do with like because he had a hand, well, he was the owner of, the warehouse and then
right.
ultimately
Well,
music
Rob
box.
brought the talent together, Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert Williams, yeah, he brought the talent together. He definitely brought the right sound guy. He brought
Mm.
the right lighting guy. He
Mm.
brought the right DJ, Frankie Knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because the guy that was doing the lightings knew exactly how to change the cues. He knew the music. He
Mm.
knew what Frankie was playing. Yeah, they must have practiced, rehearsed, or I don't know. Um, but the lights would change on time as opposed to like the music box where Ron Hardy was. The music was a bit faster, definitely still underground. Lots of edits. Ron played a lot of edits. Um, the space, the I think it was just bigger. It was a bigger place.
The music
Uh,
box, right?
the music box, and that crowd was a little bit more mixed. It was more male, female.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from what I remember, whereas the warehouse is like predominantly, I would say 85 to 90% male. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because that was more of a gay club in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, especially. The power plant was mixed,
Mm-hmm.
but they were all they were all queer friendly spaces, all of them.
Yeah.
And that's just how it was.
Mm-hmm.
If you were like straight, you weren't going there. You weren't going to these clubs. They would not show up. The straight guys would not show up. It was only the more open-minded or people that were, part of the community that would go. Um,
Mm.
so it definitely felt like our place. Like this belongs to us. We're safe here. It belongs to us. Um, but those spaces, they sounded different because of the music that was being played. Oh, what those other like mainstream clubs, you're not going to hear re-edits. You're not going to hear this stuff like the way these guys played it. And I'm sure Frankie was going to New York and getting, way advanced copies of things. I'm sure, he still had connections there. I don't really know, exactly how much, but so I can't speak too much on that. But I know he was playing music that nobody else was playing. Um,
Mm.
Also, he would reach back into the vault and like pull out records that maybe were sort of a flop when they first came out, but he would come back, re-edit them, and all of a sudden make a really like a monster song. The biggest
Wow.
example the biggest example of that is "Let No Man Put Us Under." We're dancing
No
to
Man Put Us Under was a flop?
well, it came out in 1976 or 1977. It didn't make a dent. It didn't make a dent.
What?
Frankie did a re-edit of it, and he's playing it in like 1981, 82, 83. I forgot what year, probably closer to 83.
Mm.
Then it became a hit. Then it
Damn.
became so yeah.
So
When that song first came out, it was on a greatest hits album, and it didn't really, from Salsoul Records, it didn't really go anywhere. It is a classic, but that version, it's it's
it's
okay. It's too short.
yeah,
It's too short,
yeah,
and all the meat and potatoes is there. It's saved until the very very end, and then it fades out. So
yeah,
Frankie got that record, and they edited that outro, and that was like the main hook.
yeah.
And we went crazy over that. So he gave it new life, and there was a lot of stuff like that, like South Shore Commission. I'm a free man. That record wasn't really huge when it first came out. When Frankie played it, he made it a monster. So there was something about him getting his hands on something and making it blow up, which he did with Your Love, with the Jamie Principle. The fact that like he treated us to this unique sound, and played it over and over again, it sort of conditioned us to like be open to this new vibe.
Wow.
And
Other DJs doing techniques like that, like I know a lot of people say him and Ron Hardy would play a record like, oh, y'all wasn't giving me that reaction. Let me play this joint again 3 times, 4 times. Were other DJs and other clubs doing stuff like that or no? That
I
wasn't the thing.
highly doubt it. I really, really highly doubt it. And
Mm.
Frankie would give records a second chance. And there's a good example I have of that when there's a band called Don Armando Second Avenue Rumba Band. They did Deputy of Love. It's a disco classic.
Love that beauty. Yep.
Right. So I was there the night that Frankie played it for the first time. And he played it early. He played it at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning. People walked off the dance floor. Yeah, yeah. He played it again around 5:30. We lost our fucking minds. Maybe we were high by then. I don't know, but
Mm.
it sounded different. It sounded different. And it became a staple in his sets after that. So yeah, he would give things a second chance.
Do you
It,
think that had to do with him building tension? Like he knew how to build tension, like him and Ron Hardy like knew how to build tension throughout the night. Like, okay, let me play this again at this time. Like, and then
oh
I'll
yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you know what? There is something to be said about like trying things out early, just to
mm,
test it. Let's hear how it sounds. I'm not really
yeah.
sure. Because that song, like Deputy of Love, it's a weird song. It's quirky. The intro is so hard to mix into. It barely has an intro, and it's just odd, But that's August Darnell for you. I mean, he's a brilliant songwriter, and
Genius.
he went under a lot of different monikers, and that was one of them. But man, those lyrics they stay in your head, and Deputy of Love. By the time we heard it the third or fourth time, in the following weeks, we were singing the lyrics to it. But yeah, that was one of those that just it it didn't cut it early. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning was way too early, and him trying it again later that night was the smartest thing because now it's a classic. Now it's an absolute classic. So
Did you realize like like you were a part of, and I asked people who were like a part of just pivotal moments in music and dance music and club history, like, did you realize like, and did like your peers realize like, damn, we really a part of something? Did you or y'all was just like, oh no, we just having fun. We just
We're
going to
just
the
having fun. It's a night out. Let's. But it became kind of like a religion for us. If we didn't make it one night, it felt like we were missing out on something. But it really was more about socializing, like being in a space of other people just like you who love this music just like you. It was more about that. And I mean, disco was like, it was like a bug for us. It was, it just, once it gets in you, you can't let go. I mean, the
Mm,
euphoria that you get from it, from being on that dance floor, listening to that music on that sound system was just like one of a kind. And it felt it felt like it was ours. It felt like it belonged to us, but I didn't feel like, oh, we're part of history or nothing like that.
mm.
Nothing like that. It was
When
more like, hey, this is a great fucking party. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep doing this as long as we can. That's
It's
what it was.
funny. It's funny because, in the documentary Pump Up the Volume, and it had an interview with Derek May, and he said, when he was talking about the music box, like, if I think about it, like, I'll get mad because wherever I'm playing, I'll be like, this is bullshit, and it's not the same, and I won't feel the same way. Is it kind of like that, when you just look at the club scene of today? Is it like, oh y'all, you know what I'm saying, do y'all thing, but it's like y'all don't know what's going on, like, and why do you think it is like that? Like, why do you think things have changed so much? Like, did you realize?
Okay, for one
Yeah,
reason,
go ahead,
I
go ahead.
think people have a really short attention span right now.
Mm,
That's a big reason. Short attention span. Um, People bringing phones into a venue have, I think, ruined things. Social media is a big part of that. Like, oh, we have to, yeah, let's do the selfies. Let's record everything. Hey, why are you recording? Enjoy your experience while you're there. You know,
mm,
if somebody isn't here, well, then that's their fault. That's their mistake. They're missing out. Do you
mm,
think that showing this recording to someone is going to give them that experience? No.
mm,
You have to be in there, in the space, on the dance floor to feel it. Watching the video is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And even when you play that video back, you'll be like, oh, okay. And then, I never watch my videos. Like, I mean, I've recorded some things, but it's like, oh, okay. I don't even know why I recorded that because it's not the same thing. So I think people having a short attention span, social media, people wanting to do that whole thing like, oh, look where I am, or where I am, I'm going to record myself. I think that's ruined a lot of it.
mm,
I kind of think too that it's it's oversaturated. Like there's so many things going on that
mm,
it's hard to find the real good one.
mm,
And
mm,
that is kind of at play too. I do like the fact that younger people are turning on to house music finally again, finally, because for a while there was a whole group like I mean, we went through like I think an exodus of people like listening to house music, but now younger people. I mean, Jessie and I, who's Jessie Rivera, who's my business partner, um,
mhm,
we had this experience back in September. Went to this rooftop party, you know, and just north of the city, and we weren't sure what to expect. But a guy that we just signed to our label named Paradise um, was throwing this party, and or no, he was playing at the party. Somebody else was throwing the party, but he was spinning, so he invited us. We went there, and we were just surprised at like how many people knew who we were, and they came up to me and Jessie and like, we love what you do. We love the music you guys put out. We were shocked by that, but it's
mm.
exactly the kind of audience that we were hoping for. We were hoping for this younger audience to discover us
That's
and
what.
appreciate what we do. You have to like reach across and get those younger people in because otherwise it'll die.
Mm,
Um, Now, we are not trying to recreate the past. We are
mm,
not trying to like stick to formula. We do bounce a little bit in our genres, the kind of stuff that we put out, but we always keep it strictly underground.
mhm.
Um,
Oof, I
Jesse and
love
I,
that.
Jesse and I really like are focused on. quality music. He and I are on this huge kick of, like, hey, learn as much music theory as possible. We got to get this, got to raise the bar. And I think it shows in our productions. I'm really proud of the stuff that I'm putting out. Um, I'm also really excited about the future of the label. But I think that this younger generation is going to see something exciting in the music. Um, Also, I really highly believe in mentoring people, and especially
Mm,
younger. Like, I mean, if I can pass along some knowledge, I'm more than
please,
happy
please.
to do that. You got to do it because I don't want this to die. And I want to see what they're going to come up with. You know, they get some ideas from the past, inject it with what they know and newer technology, and, who knows what could happen. So, there are some good parties around. I mean, but it just, it depends on where you go and who's throwing them. So I don't
Most
go out a
definitely.
lot. I really just don't. I spend a lot of time in the studio. It's
Mm,
a lot of time running the label. It's a lot of freaking work.
mm.
So it's hard for me to get out. Last thing I want to do is be out until 4 in the morning when I got to be up in the morning and, make phone calls, and I have to get these designs done. And I have, like, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
And so, I've been there, done that. I've done it. If
I
there's
was
a
just
really
about to say, and you did it big. And I feel like, nah, for real, man.
yeah,
Like you did it big. Like if I could transport myself to any period of time, it would be Chicago, late 70s to mid
early 80s,
80s,
yeah.
to that era. You know what I'm saying? Because it, like it was just such a pivotal moment in music history. Like, and one thing I wanted to ask you about specifically was, do you feel like by the time that you and the rest of like native Chicagoans realized that damn, like this is history we were a part of. By then, it had already kind of like the music had been taken over by like Europe in a way, or overshadowed by like Europe.
Part of me wants to say I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, it's funny that you brought that up because, like, younger me would have
Mm-hmm.
been really annoyed at
Mm,
what was happening.
yeah.
But older me being able to look back on that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm settled. I'm
Mm,
happy. I'm
mm,
content. I don't like to carry things that I was feeling when I was 25. Like, damn it,
right.
I missed the fucking boat. Okay, yeah, because you were working in a studio.
Mm,
Okay, you want to hang on to this for the rest of your life? No, thank you. No, let that shit go. So a
right.
younger a younger me, maybe a 30-year-old me would have been like, no, I can't fucking believe this happened, and I didn't take advantage of this. I did feel like that back then, but now I realize the music's never left me. I got back into music probably about, I'm going to say, about 15, 16 years ago. So I
Wow.
left it for a long time. I did. I went and worked in the corporate world, and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable.
Mm,
And yeah, so this is about like 16, maybe even longer than that. So 16, let's say 18, 16, 18 years ago. And it took me going to the Detroit Electronic Music Festival one year, and I went, and I'm like, fuck, this is what I should be doing. I mean, and I got bid again. I'm like, I need to be doing this. And you know what? I showed up to work that Monday and I handed in my resignation. I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore. I'm sorry. I don't want to wear a suit. I fucking hate this.
oh
And I
my God.
left. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no plan. And I ended up a couple of months after that. I had to pay bills. I ended up working at Columbia College. And I got lucky because Columbia College is an art school. I was surrounded by other working artists. And I got to have these dialogues, really in depth, personal exchanges of information. And my peers were like, you're legit. Just because you're an artist doesn't mean you're not a legitimate person. Because, growing up, to me, it was like I was always hounded in my head, like, you got to get a real job. What are you doing? Get a job at a factory. I mean, I was always, my dad was telling me that, you know?
Mm,
And so I felt less than, you know, if I didn't have a real job. Well, these working
mm,
artists that I was surrounded with, they're like, no, you can, you can teach, you can still practice your art. You can, it's legitimate. You're a real person. You're a full person. Nurture the
mm,
creative side. And so that's
mm.
what I started doing, started nurturing. And then the other thing they told me is like, the person that needs to take you seriously is you. Are you a producer? Well, then call yourself a producer.
Mm.
Start thinking like that. And everything that you do has to be the next step towards that. So I, you know, I kind of like slugged off that old mentality of like not being worthy and thinking of myself, I'm a legitimate person, even though I do create art. What I
Wow.
am doing is legitimate. And I'm going to think of it in that way, and it changed my world. I'm telling you, it changed my world. I
It was
dropped the
identity shift.
I dropped Jose and I changed it to Louie Gomez,
Hmm.
and that was my new thing. That was that I'm going to be this new person,
Hmm.
and that's when I just you know I started writing music again. I went to the Miami with a winter music conference, and I met this person named Melo Blanco. He's a producer on our label. He lives in New York. He's a fantastic producer. He's one of my best friends, and I love this guy, man. I met him one night out at a party in Miami, and we were just talking about music, and we both had this enthusiasm and passion, and we exchanged cards. I gave out my card to like hundreds of people, and I got like a stack of business cards on when I got home, and I'm like, wow, I got all these cards, all these connections. The only person that ever called me was him. He called me on the phone. He's like, hey, what's your mailing address? And I'm like, why? He's like, just give me your mailing address. I'm like, okay. I gave him my mailing address. A couple of days later, FedEx shows up. He shipped me $2,000 worth of software. He's like, install it on your system and send it back. I'm like, okay. So it was all this stuff by Spectrasonics. Sorry, Spectrasonics. Um, sorry about that. He shared the software with me. So I had access to all of these like fantastic sounds from that company. It changed the way I sounded. All of a sudden, like my production sounded more elevated because these were like really great plugins. I sent him those plugins back. You know, we've been friends ever since. I mean, this guy, like, he's like my brother now. Um, and it's funny because
Love
it's
that.
because of Melo Blanco and Jessie Rivera. It's because of them that I sound the way I sound now because we are constantly teaching one another. We're constantly one upping and getting better because we're trying to outdo the other person. So it's a
Mm,
friendly competition. We acknowledge it and we love it. And we share information with one another like, hey, this is how I did this. Oh, you want to know how I did that vocal thing? Well, you do this. This is my vocal stack. And then you do this. And then you add this delay. You make sure you compress this part. And then we all are able to up our game because we're sharing this information. So I feel really lucky to be around these really creative guys that are super talented. And I learned a lot from that. I'm still learning. And you have to always be a student of the craft. You can never feel like, oh, I know enough. You know, stay true to your sound, but be a student of the craft, hone your skills, make sure you learn the history of the music and have respect for the culture. And being
mm,
consistent is what's going to get you to that next place. Now, that's why whatever happened in the 80s and house music blowing up across the world and sort of like taking the limelight off of Chicago, it doesn't bother me in the least bit anymore because I'm in a different place. Maybe back
mm.
then, as a younger person, yeah, I was a little pissed, but I'm not going to stay in that area. My mind is somewhere else. I'm here, and I'm doing this now, and I'm happy.
That's amazing. Honestly, Louis. It's just so cool because I feel like house music. is so appealing to me as an artist because I didn't get started at like making music and getting like my life as a DJ until like my late 20s, even though I always love house music and I was always around it and always appreciated it. So, you saying that it's like, okay, well, I don't got no fucking excuses or no peer person like, who is younger starting later has no excuses because other genres I feel like have, a tendency to highlight people who are like, you know, in their early 20s and stuff like that. But house music is just living proof. You could see people in their 50s and their 60s still touring, still
Yeah,
DJing, Terry, Louie Vega, names like that. People, who've been doing it for 50 years, you included.
yeah.
Like, and I think that's what's so amazing. Like you telling me that you took a break, I would have never known that because listening to your stuff, it sounds like you haven't missed a step at all. So it's
Well,
like,
I took a break because I
mhm.
feeling those frustrations, and
Mm.
it was all part of what was going on, and I felt like I had missed the boat. Um,
I
and
understand.
also the internalized like stuff that I had had from my family, like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing this other thing. Like, it made me step away, but
Mm.
that was my journey, and stepping away taught me that I don't have to do that. That I can actually be doing this other thing. Um, so yeah, man. I mean, seriously, like I'm going to tell you, like I've peeked at your videos, and you're dancing and you're really getting excited over these tracks. That is so cool to me. I fucking love seeing that kind of stuff, and you look like you're enjoying yourself so much, and that is exactly what house music does. It's supposed to do that to you. You got to
Yeah.
keep that energy. Um, always remember that. Always remember that.
Mm.
Always remember how that makes you feel. And did you mention that you're starting to produce or you are producing?
Yes, yes. I'm in the early stages of it. I
Okay.
was,
Well, if you need some mentorship, I'm saying it right now on the camera. Just come to me. I will talk to you about it, help
oh,
you
I'm,
out.
I'm sending you some
I'll
of my tracks right after I get off
I'll
this with
critique
you.
this stuff and tell you what you can improve on or what you should leave alone. But my point is, don't ever be disappointed by by negative feedback because
Mhm.
one, that is not going to be the last track you ever make. One, two, sometimes your track isn't for everybody. Somebody over here is going to love it, and somebody over here isn't going to love it. And it either because they're not into that genre, or they don't understand it, or they just don't feel it. It doesn't make a difference. There's always going to be more. Um, I let things roll. They just bounce off me like a negative comment or negative feedback. Like, okay, well, I have 20 other tracks here, so like, who cares? They're gonna like something. They're gonna like something. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. So you have to really be okay with getting negative comments. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Uh, be true to yourself and remember why you're doing it in the first place. You're not doing it for other people to like you. You're doing this for you. You're
Mm.
the one. You're making this
Mm.
music because you have to make it. You're not.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, you want to dance for it to appreciate it, but first and foremost, you're really doing it because it's inside you, and that's the way I look at it. Um, I've been
Wow.
lucky. I've been lucky to have, my tracks played on dance floors, or like when I walk into a party and somebody they see me and they put on one of my tracks. Like that is really really cool, but you can't live on that. Like that feeds
Mm.
your ego, but it doesn't feed the rest of you. It's like being on a diet of cotton candy. Like, oh, that tastes really good, but you can't live on that. You gotta
Mm.
you gotta have more substance, and the substance is you're feeding yourself. You're by being creative, by learning, um, and advancing in what you learn, like just progressing as a person in your music and as a person yourself. That's really what feeds you. Um, compliments are fine, but you don't have to. You're not going to exist on that. Just that. I try to like
Do
put
you
that
think
ego thing aside. So
do you think like because you're around people who force you to become better, like, and who motivate you, like, and people you actually enjoy working with, Do you think like that's something that a lot of DJs, especially coming up now, like can be so isolated, instead of like surround themselves? Like, do you think y'all specifically had more community um back in those days than DJs have now when it comes to like all hyping each other up? Or is that
Oh,
something that you learned later on?
well, there was community back then. It was community a little different for us. It was, our queer space. Most of us that we were hanging out with, like, we were all young gay kids. First
Hmm.
in the closet, I mean, we weren't telling anybody, but we knew about each other, and then eventually coming out to each other. So that was our community.
Mm,
The community now, there's a lot of support. There's but I mean, I have an inner circle, and these guys are like my ride or dies, and
mm,
um, I keep those guys close. And then there's other peripheral people, and that's fine too. You don't need too many. You just need a handful, two or three
yeah.
people, and I feel like that's enough. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to balance. I mean, I don't know. Like, I like to say I have a lot of friends, but like
Hmm.
close people, like it's just a handful. And these are the people I can call at 2 in the morning, and rely that they're going to be there. Um, so you need to have that. You need to have at least a few people that are going to support you no matter what you do, and have your back. Um, give you real advice, not the sugar coated stuff. Like, oh yeah, I like that. No, they got to tell you the truth. Um, and people are going to teach you. Like, oh, I
Mm,
learned this thing. Let me show you how to do it. That is
mm,
really, really important. Um, it's frustrating. I mean, it's funny because like when I got back into audio production, um, I was using Ableton Live, and I loved it. I fucking loved it, man. And I was just like, I knew everything about it. But then my
mm,
boys Jessie and Mello Blanco, they're using Logic, and they're like,
mm,
we're trying to do
mm.
remixes for one another, and then we have to export everything as a stem rather than just sending the project file. I'm like,
Yeah.
I bit the bullet because of them and started to learn Logic Pro, and this is like 10 years ago. Oh my god, the learning curve was horrible. It took me forever. And but then I realized it's more like recording in a real studio on a mixing board than Ableton. And
I,
I started to fall in love with it. And now I love it, absolutely love it. And now when we exchange files, we just exchange the project file, and it's all there, and we have access to everything that the other person has. Yeah. So, what are you working in now? But
Me, I'm working with Ableton Live intro.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so I got
I still know it. I still know it.
yeah.
And there's a lot of really great, great producers that work
Mhm.
strictly in Ableton Live. There's nothing wrong with it. The only reason I switched is because my guys are working in Logic, so it
I
just
was
made it
gonna
easier. But
I was
the
gonna
whole
say
point behind that story was that the learning curve was so high. It was like, but it was totally worth it. Totally worth it. So
I was gonna say like why like because I feel like when I started like letting people know like hey I'm interested in doing remixes and re-edits they like Ableton. Why do you think that is? Like so many people I feel like gravitate towards Ableton in the electronic or house music space rather than Logic, because I feel like Logic is starting to catch on now, but I feel like Ableton, so many people are just
because
able
it's people. That's why it's just
yeah,
a lot of people. I don't
yeah.
understand why somebody would want to pay so much money for Ableton. Logic is so inexpensive, but they only make it for one platform. It's only for the Mac. You don't get Logic in on a PC. You only get it on the Mac. They
Dang.
don't have to write the program twice. Ableton, you have to write it once for the Windows platform, and then another version for the Mac platform. Um, I think that's why it's expensive, but I think that people gravitate towards it because there's a lot of people that work in it. It's just, more videos about it. There's, I think that's the only reason.
You got me thinking about switching right
Do you,
now.
if you have
Because
a
I,
Mac? would
I
suggest
do. I have a Mac. I
yeah.
have a, I have a brand new Mac, and I
If you
was
have a brand new Mac, get Logic.
I think I'm gonna do that because I feel like I'm not even getting as much as I can out of the Ableton because I have the intro version and it's not like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'm not even getting everything I need out of it because it's so expensive to get
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It is so expensive.
like $800 a year.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But it's a great program. I'm telling you, it is a great program,
Mhm.
and a lot of really great producers use it. But a lot of really great producers use Logic too. So,
Right.
I it's just my preference now, and I finally upgraded to the Mac Studio, um, and it runs super fast on there. I never have a problem with it at all. I think I have like 96 gigs of RAM, so that's important too. Um, but I also do other things too. Like I do, you know, um, video promos and all that video editing on this. So it's got to be my Mac's got a function for both. I do a lot of photo editing and things like that. So, but
That's so
my
dope,
Logic,
man.
I mean, in either platform, I mean, I could help you with that because I still remember Ableton. But um,
Please listen, please, man. This is like the conversation I've been waiting for, man. Not only like because of your experiences in the industry, but also like your technical expertise. Although you did say like you had like an engineer helping you, man, like you knew exactly where when that first time you got into the studio where to place everything, and that
Well, I mean, I didn't know exactly. A lot of it was like trial and error. Trust me, because if you were to hear that song, that's the reason why it's 8.5 minutes long. Because I'm like, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, and it just, oh my god, now we had this really long song. But songs were really long back in the day.
yeah,
Now you got to cut that track down to 6 minutes at the max, because otherwise
exactly.
it's not going to get played. Um,
Mhm,
I mean, even that might be cutting it too long.
mhm.
So yeah, that first time that I was in the studio, a lot. Well, and also is because we were grooving to a vibe while it was playing, and we just kept, yeah, let's keep this going, let's keep this going. I'm like, oh shit, it's been going for 3 minutes. We got to change it. We got to do something else. So like,
I
it was hit or
understand.
miss. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I had notes, I had my ears, and that
So
was
the
it.
way even the way y'all heard music back then was different.
Oh
Like
yeah, it was definitely
way,
different.
the way you listen to music was
Yeah,
different because it was, not just, oh, we're dancing to this, but it was also like a moment, like let's keep it going. Like
let's keep it
we
going.
want to
Let's keep the
we
vibe
want to
going.
make it as long as possible. Like that
Right.
song by Jocelyn Brown, Make It Last Forever. You want to make it
Yeah.
last. Like
Last,
that's-
yeah, you do. Yeah, that's how it was. And people didn't mix out a track so quickly back then. You could let the track ride out,
Mm.
and I don't know why, but like well, short attention span. That's
Yeah.
we're
They
back to
mentioned
that. You know.
there was a comment on one of my videos about Ron Hardy, and let me know if you would experience this at the music box because it sounds like you gravitated more towards Frankie Knuckles style
Oh no,
DJ.
but well, oh Frankie Knuckles style, yeah, yeah.
Like you probably went to warehouse or you probably went to power plant more than you did the
No, I
music.
went equally. It was Friday at one place, Saturday at the other place.
Oh shoot, okay, well okay,
Every weekend. Yeah, no, I was
okay, so
there.
you got it all. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's amazing.
Because if
So
we didn't go, we felt like we were missing out. It's just the way it was. If we didn't go, and it's funny because at the power plant, like we would show up there a little bit earlier. We would show up probably like 12:30 at the music box. We didn't go there until 3 in the morning. We would
wow.
we are arriving there, and there's still a line, so we still have to wait.
Why
So
why why were y'all going so late?
because it just got better. It just the way it was. It just got better. You know, I don't know. We just you didn't want to be too early there.
Mm,
You wanted to be there at the height of the party.
I
Uh,
understand.
yeah, that's
When it
man.
was still
I'll
booming.
be honest with you. I'm surprised I did not get kicked out of the house. I'm
Why?
surprised because I
Why?
was out of the house. I mean, I'm a teenager and I'm disobeying my parents and You know, like I'm surprised they didn't kick me out. You know, I think the only reason they didn't is because I had a job. So you know,
Mm, that's
makes
amazing. So it's like the comments that I hear about, music
oh
box, it's like, when people commented on that post I made about Ron Hardy, like, were you there the nights he would play animal sounds and like he would turn the lights off all the way and like have people just like in like a trance? Like, what was that like? And was it was a different vibe than the warehouse was kind of like experience wise, or were they kind of just like the same, just
it was
excitement?
it was different because there are different spaces.
Mm.
Um, I get the comment about Ron's party being a little more trippy. Um, I think more people were high, more, more. I know, I know one night I had to be carried out to the car to get some
What?
air. Yeah. And I wasn't doing anything but smoking weed, but I was smoking weed like they were cigarettes. I was like one joint after the
Uh,
other. You know, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's got a nicotine problem. No, that's weed. I
wow.
like 10 joints within the span of 2 hours, like really fucking high. So I think a lot of people were at the music box. There was a room you would go in, and everybody in there is smoking. You didn't even have to smoke. If you're in that room, you're going to get a contact high. And
Wow.
we go in. There was no windows. There was one door on this side and one door on this side, and no one closed the doors. It was open. So you can hear everything. You can see people walking by, but that's the room you would go into to smoke. And man, I remember I was walking through the crowd after leaving that room, and I was really fucking high. And I'm walking, and I felt myself like losing, like almost like losing consciousness. And Craig saw me, and he grabbed me and caught
Mm.
me before I hit the floor. And he walked me out to his car. He's like, sit in here for a while. Like looking back on it, I'm like, you left me in the car by myself. What the like in that state? Like what the fuck? Like that is really dangerous. But I was only smoking weed, so. But looking back now, like
Yeah.
ever leave someone on their own like that? Like, geez.
Yeah.
Here's how crazy it was at the music box. I was so high one night. I was there with my friend Kelly. We're on the dance floor. Now there is this sound effect that Ron used to play all the time. It was a train horn. It's a,
Mm.
it's one that you hear in his mixes, and it sounds like it's coming from far away, and all of a sudden it comes really close and it's really loud,
Wow.
high as fuck. I know that when we parked the car, we parked right next to these railroad tracks. Okay,
Oh
in
shit.
the back of my mind. So we're on the dance floor. I'm hearing this train from far away. My crazy ass thinks, oh my God, the train is about to jump the track and crash through the wall. I am freaking out. I'm like, oh my, and I'm like, why is nobody hearing this? And I grab my friend and I'm like, oh, ah, I'm like, ah. And she's like, what is wrong with you? That's a sound effect. I'm like, oh my God. I got
Uh,
so freaking scared. But see, I think other people were high like that too. And that's added to the crazy that trance thing. Yeah, yeah. And the trance thing also came because he would do these edits and extend these parts that would go on forever. So
mm.
it's hypnotizing. It is
Yeah.
hypnotizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And combined with whatever, your flavor of drug that you were doing, combined
Mm.
with the music, the sound system, it induced this sort of like hallucinatory effect. Um, I know
Mm.
people were feeling that way at the warehouse too, because supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but I kind of want to believe it, that they used to spike the punch with acid. So of course
Mm.
it's diluted, but everybody
Yeah.
gets a bit of it. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we were high as fuck. I remember things sounding three-dimensional at the warehouse, like
Mm.
really three-dimensional. There are certain tracks that were played that I'm like, I want to just record this into my memory and never forget this feeling. One of those tracks is Quebec Electric, War Dance. It sounded phenomenal on that floor. and another is Melody Stewart, Get Down, Get Down. Those drum hits sounded like they were like being smacked inside of a cavern, and they just resonated in that hallway. It was just like, oh my God, it sounded so thunderous. And um I remember standing there like, I want to remember this moment. I want to remember this moment. This is incredible. Like we were like listening to this like amazing productions on this great sound system. And I still remember that feeling. And I don't know if it was because we're high or because the combination of everything. So
No, that's like now tell me about what was the club scene because I know you was, by, the late 80s, early 90s, like kind of, maybe
by
doing
the
some
late, I think the 90s, we started going. I was hanging out at Red Dog.
mm,
We would do that place on Fridays and Monday nights. Monday nights became the night to go. Um, and there was also Sunday night parties. I forgot the name of the club, but Terry Bristol and Ralphie Rosario would spin there. And
mm.
um,
I love his new album, by the way. That new Ralphie Rosario album
that
is
album is, yeah, that guy. Oh my God.
is
Yeah.
crazy. I
His
played
stuff
that.
is so
Yeah.
infectious. Man. Yeah. He really, yeah. I'm surprised he doesn't have a Grammy, but his stuff is fantastic. What was it? Sunday nights, the party was called Glee Club, but I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the club. Anyway, that was the night that a lot of us would do ecstasy and
Mm.
we'd party. So as soon as we get there, you drop some ecstasy, and after that you go to an after party. But yeah, that was a really on Sunday nights. I can't imagine doing that now. Like I got something to do in the morning. No, I can't be doing that. And when you take X, that stuff lasts for like 10 hours. Like no, no, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
And
it lasts for a long time.
long time, and then the headache the next day. Like forget it, forget it. And back then, that was like the real stuff. It was pure. It wasn't like they're doing it now, like it's mixed with
Yeah.
other things. So it was safer.
Mm.
Um, but that's been around for a long time. MDMA, that's been around. I mean, it was around during the 70s. It was during the disco era. It was huge.
What?
Yeah, it was huge. Except it was called MDMA. That's what it was called.
I see. You know
Yeah.
what? They were talking about it and Pump Up the Volume. Andre Hatchett and the other guy, they were talking about how they used to do MDMA
Mm,
at the music box, how that was a thing. And
yeah. Yeah. See, I knew about MDMA, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't do anything more than weed. Like that was my thing. And it wasn't until later when I was older and I understood what MDMA was, ecstasy. I understood it. Then I was like, okay, yeah, I feel fine taking it. It's only going to last for a few hours, and 10 hours later, I'm like, oh my god, it's still here. Um, but it was fun. It felt like I was doing it in a controlled environment with friends, so I felt safe, and I knew that you're supposed to keep hydrated. We know all the safety stuff that went with it. What I liked about ecstasy was that you felt drunk, but
mm,
stupid part.
mm,
You could still function, but you
most
just felt drunk. That made it okay. I had stopped smoking weed by then, so that was the only thing in my system at the time. And then I just stopped. I mean, I did it for a whole like winter season, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And
definitely.
and that was it. And then ever since then, I'm like, yeah, I don't do any of that.
Appreciate you saying that because I was watching this interview with Frankie Knuckles and he was talking about, like drugs in the scene. And he was really transparent, just like you're being transparent about it and saying like, there would be some nights I would do it and I would play, and then other nights I'd just be drinking juice and I wouldn't even touch it, and
Yeah.
then eventually I just stopped doing it. Do you feel like the reason like we don't see a lot of people from that area is because like of the drugs? Like, because I definitely know, you know, Ron Hardy, he was, addicted to heroin, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
see Larry Levan, he succumbed to drug use and stuff like that. Um, and a lot of people from that era succumbed to drug use, unfortunately. Do you think like that's another reason like why we lost a lot of history?
Um, it probably plays as a big factor.
Mhm.
I mean, there's only so much your body can take. Um,
Yeah.
I think I was smart enough to listen to my own body and know when to quit certain things. By the
Yeah.
time I'm 30, I quit smoking weed. I just
Mm,
did not enjoy it anymore. I think
mm,
my body was like it the tolerance for it had
mm,
like lowered, and like I would get more intensely high, and I didn't like that.
mm,
It was too much for me, so I just stopped. And ecstasy, like I said, I did it one winter season because we were everyone was doing it. I'm like, I'll do it, and then my body just like I think I just was able to listen to myself. Like, yeah, I don't think I want to do it anymore. Those hangovers are too much for me to
mm,
handle. Um, I have to be in the studio on Monday mornings. I gotta,
mm,
it's hard to function like that. So I didn't force myself to continue doing it.
mm,
So yeah, the people that don't follow those kind of same guidelines, yeah, they can succumb to this, and it may be a reason why some of these people aren't around. But also, like life takes a toll on people, and it takes its toll in different ways. You know,
mm.
this other person can be doing this whole other combination of drug cocktails and be fine. And the very next person to them, like, no, they end up with cancers and this and that and the other. And so you just never know. Um, Life itself is hard. Um,
Yeah.
and then, back then, there was the you know, a lot of people were succumbing to AIDS. I mean, and thereby, but for the grace of God, go I. But I was spared. I mean, I know there's a reason I was spared. It's, you know, I, I used to be one of these kids that would dress up really wild to go to these parties. And me and my best friend at the time, Jean Pierre, we would concoct these wild outfits and wear makeup, not drag makeup, but like weird kind of stuff. And
Honest.
look,
Like club kids before club kids.
we were before the club kids. Yeah, we were before.
Wow.
We
Wow.
didn't go that far. They took it to the next. They took. They had man that imagination was crazy, but we were before that, and we found that by dressing like that, we would get into clubs without having to wait in line. So they would be like, "Oh, come on up here," and they would just like let us in because it gave atmosphere to the party. But dressing wild like that saved my life, and I'm going to tell you why. Because while all the other guys are going around hooking up with guys, and I was attracted to like the boy next door, like the regular guy, that kind of person was going to take a second look at me because I look like a freak.
Uh,
I couldn't get laid for the life of me, or
wow.
everyone else is hooking up. Even if I wanted to, the guy that I had my eyes on isn't going to look at me.
I
So
see.
I basically was like celibate through that whole time, and it spared me
Wow. That,
because I was expressing myself creatively again. So it's either music or through fashion. And, here I am all these years later, and I didn't do anything special other than express myself. And, I even had this conversation with my mom. I'm like, Mom, remember all those clothes that, because she would find my stuff and throw them away.
wow.
And yeah, because, yeah, it was some crazy shit.
That
Um,
explains how you lost those glasses, those sunglasses.
yeah.
You probably got thrown out someplace.
um, I told her, I'm like, remember all those crazy outfits, those crazy clothes? I'm like, that saved my life, believe it or not. And
Mm.
I had this conversation the same way I'm telling you. I told her, I'm like, I, it spared me, and I feel lucky because of that. But, um, so there's a lot of things in life that happen, and that's why a lot of people aren't around anymore. I don't know everyone's story, but that's mine. Um,
That's actually an amazing story because it's like each different phase in your life, your creativity saved you. Like
yeah, yeah,
when you was at that job, because that was like more like a spiritual thing,
it was,
more
and I
like a spiritual reawakening that it
It
gave
was.
you life.
That's exactly what it was, and that's why I felt so empty at that job because that spirituality was gone. Yeah, it was. Spirituality for me is music, and it was
Mm,
vacant from my life, and I
mm,
felt like a shell. Going to the Electronic Music Festival in Detroit reawakened it, like you said. And I
Mm,
felt like I was among my people. I felt like these are the humans I connect with. And that's all we want in this life is that a connection with another human being. And I think that's why we get addicted to the music because through the music, we find these connections that aren't outside. They're not at our jobs, they're not at our schools, they're at these spaces where you have to actually go to connect and or via online like you found
yeah,
me, you saw something and now we're connecting like this. So
right.
that it is that like that common thread that weaves us all together. Um, that's what I love about the music, and I don't think you can say that about a lot of other genres. I don't think you can. I think some people don't ever find that. But the people that don't find it, that don't ever find it, whatever it is, whether it's music or not, but that thing that saves them, you can almost spot them because you can tell that they're lost. There's a message there
Mm.
that we leave, and it's really subliminal. It really is. I mean, it you either get it or you don't. And that's why
Think it's the same message that it was with disco that drew you to house music, like, and like, do you think, like, what is that message?
oh, that's a really interesting question because I do listen to a lot of disco,
Mm,
and um, I think during that disco era, especially like younger, like from like 1976, like when I was first turned on to it,
mhm.
75, 6, I had what you call that Pollyanna approach to the music because I
Yeah.
listened to these lyrics and yeah, they were really uplifting, but I was really naive and thinking, oh, this is how life is. And this is, come on down to 54, like that. Find your spot out on the floor. Like I'm like, oh yeah, this is what everyone's doing. And it wasn't until I arrived at the warehouse and I heard this other kind of disco music that had a more emotional message. And whether it was darker or whether it was more gospel oriented or soulful oriented, I don't know what it was, but it was not this like cheesy disco-y stuff. It was like the real, like real lyrics about real
Yeah.
life. And
Mm. The lyrics back then was so good.
yeah, yeah. So
So
yeah,
good.
there was a difference, and you know, it's not in all disco music. It's in that deeper stuff that's written by, some of these great artists. I mean, you know, the commercial disco had its time and place, but
Mm.
that's not what lived on. It's the deeper stuff that lives on, that's been sampled over and over again, that still speaks to generations later. Not the commercial stuff, like very rare. I mean, I went to go see a disco band the other night
Mm.
at this venue nearby, and they're a live band, and there's like 10 people in the band, and they're really good. Um,
Mm.
they reproduce the music really, really well. Um, the only critique I would have is that they play too much commercial stuff.
Mm.
There's a lot of they can go a little deeper, but I understand because the venue they're
Yeah.
only scratch the surface because the other people would. I mean, when they played "I Feel Love," I was shocked that they were even going to attempt that song.
Mm.
Love is very difficult to play, but they nailed it. They nailed it. They did all the harmonies, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Uh,
Mm.
they did Thelma Houston, "Don't Leave Me This Way," in a
Mm.
way that I've never heard it before. The percussion breakdown they have a drummer and percussion. Oh my God, it just sent us, it made us go, it was like live gospel music. It was crazy. I'm jumping up and down like a fool at this place. Oh my God, this is so good. And then they go into Funky Town, like, ah, come on,
Damn, y'all had it. Y'all had it.
come on. But I get it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, you get it,
and nothing wrong with Funky Town. It's got its time and place, but
yeah.
Don't Leave Me This Way, the way they did it, like in such a like gospel way. I'm like, you could tell she was like begging this person, like, stay in my life. And I was like, I feel that. I feel it. That's what we're talking about. Those kind of lyrics, that kind of music,
Mm.
different from this that other stuff. And I
Well,
think,
I'm here again. That's my favorite song from
oh,
her.
oh my
Yeah.
God, yep, period.
Oh
Yes,
my God,
yes.
man.
And it's so funny, like that. The really great part of that track is saved until the end.
The
You
very
know,
end, like when you hear
just like
that violin, that dun-dun-dun,
yeah, just like
dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
just like
Yeah.
Dee Dee
Yeah.
Bridgewater's "Bad for Me."
Mm.
You know
I
that
don't
one?
know that track. No, I don't know that track. I gotta
Oh,
listen to that.
look it up.
Okay.
It's the same thing with that. The meat is at the end.
Mm.
Okay, you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat because that is one of my favorite tracks, and it's insane. And Ron used to rock an amazing re-edit of that. Frank used
Mm.
to play the crap out of that. We would lose our minds on that. It's a great song. Dee Dee Bridgewater, brilliant jazz singer. She's still around.
Yeah.
Brilliant jazz singer. Um,
You know
but
who else is like a really good jazz singer that and she's actually tied to August Darnell, Corey Day. Like I wish I could find more stuff
yeah,
by her.
yeah,
I really wish she had like, I mean, tell me if I'm like if I'm not digging hard enough, but like I wish like there was more stuff that she like I could find by her because her voice, her cadence, like all
yeah.
that is
And
so
timbre she has in her voice, it's there's something very unique about it. Um, the what I read, I don't know how true this is, but I read about the whole because they were like a crew of people, August Darnell and Corey Day and all those people. They were a crew, and
Dr. Buzzard.
Dr. Buzzard,
Mhm.
Kid Creole and the Coconuts.
Yeah.
Um, there was another band, Dr.
I,
Buzz. Oh yeah, you said Dr. Buzz. So they record under all these monikers. Now, what I heard is that they did a lot of substances, whether it was smoking weed or whatever the hell, and they would show up to recordings, sessions late, and it
mm,
was hard to get them organized, and the usual crap that goes with that. And I get it. I get it. I think that's probably what led to us not hearing about them anymore, or maybe just because of the end of the disco era, they just couldn't get another hit. But
yeah.
yeah, it's that probably played a part of it. I forgot who wrote this article. I mean, they documented all these sessions, and that's somebody needs to dive into them because they're really like August Darnell is one of my heroes. Absolutely, like a
He-
songwriting hero. Absolutely love that guy.
He's a
You
wonderful thing, man.
know, is the
It
right? Actually, um,
really is.
do you
Speaking
know?
of documentation,
Yeah,
do you have this book, Beyond Heaven? You know,
no, I don't.
Beyond Heaven. So there's a part one, a part two, part three. And what I love about it is, and I don't know if this is like because New York, there's a lot of, well-known Latino and Latinx producers. But like what I loved about this book is, of course, I know you, I know Ralphie Rosario, um, but like this illustrated so many Latino producers around that time too, and DJs that was around that time, like in this book. It was saved from a brother named, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Mario Luna.
Mario Luna, I know the name. I don't know him.
Mario Live It Up Luna. That's what
Yeah,
he went.
yeah.
But like he's all his flyers and he just saved them over the years. And I loved it because this is actually dope because this is a Latino crew. It's the AKA Culitos Contact,
Oh, they were big. Yeah, yeah.
Imported Taste, Zodiac Dancers. And I'm like, yo, this is so dope. Yeah, like people like Miguel Rodriguez, Fernando Viramontes, Tony Mundaka. It's just cool seeing this because it's like, wow, like, you
Do you
know,
know I had a whole envelope full of flyers of the parties that we used to attend? Now, all that stuff that you're talking about there, like that was
mhm,
north and northwest side. I grew up on the
okay,
south, so
okay.
like, groups that we saw were like Chosen Few and that those kind of people. So it was like a different crowd. The crowd that I ran with was predominantly black. I was the
Uh,
only Latino person around. So
I I see.
I stuck out like a sore thumb or not, I felt like I blended in. I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
So I mean, in my mind, I was like everybody else. But
To
of
be
course,
honest, man, I thought you was like before they got started an interview with you. Like I didn't even see your name or anything, but I saw you on the page on the house music page, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is a light skinned black man. Because I've seen light skinned black people like
yeah.
you before, that are light
Well,
like you.
I grew up with, in high school.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, you know, by the time I hit eighth grade, okay,
yeah.
all my friends were black. I was I, I was heavily influenced by black culture, and
hmm
then I got shipped out to the suburbs to go to school. You know,
High school.
you had to go to high school because I'd be safer out there. I'm like, I didn't vibe with those kids, and then I show up over in the summer before I got to freshman year in high school. I went out and got an afro. I went and got my hair permed. So by the time school came around, I had this big afro. I'm going to send you a picture. I had this big
Please
afro.
do, please.
So everybody at school thought they called me high yellow. So
Wow.
everyone thought I was a light skin, but more than likely I looked like a Puerto Rican dude from New York. More than likely. But everyone thought I was. So I'm thinking I blend in. Like I don't know, but those I'm going to tell you, man. Those white kids hated me. They hated me. So it was not a safe place for me. I would have
Mm,
been going to a black school. It just culturally, I fit in better. Um,
mm.
but yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
so
yeah, it's just so funny how like I don't know. I always felt like I was one of everybody else, but now I don't know. I don't know why people, they just there's a lot of gatekeeping, and it's like people are saying, "No, this is our music. No, this is I, I really don't care. It's everybody's music, but I
I
know.
always say like black and brown because and because I think like it's important to know like to note the history. Like Latinos were there at
Yeah,
the beginning of house music, like not just you, but also Ralphie Rosario, just
yeah.
also Julian Jumping Perez, like it was a lot of y'all that were around, and I feel like
Rivera, Rosmo Rivera is huge. No, he never
yeah,
gets mentioned. He was right there in the booth with Frankie. He's doing the edits for Frankie Knuckles.
yeah.
I mean, come on, like that's you can't get any closer than that. Um, I was lucky enough to be on a panel a year
hmm
ago at the Chicago House Music Conference, and it was at
Yeah.
the Cultural Center, and it was
hmm
about the Latino X community in the house music scene in Chicago, and I got to talk about this, and I was
hmm
really worried nobody was going to show up to because there's a bunch of panels going on simultaneously, but it was
hmm
it was standing room only, and I got to
hmm
tell I got to talk just like I am now, and it was nice to connect with people then, but I I do admire when people are going out of their way to document like yourself and
hmm
have different people on. Um, I wish I was included more often, but
hmm
it's the way it is. And, I was honored to be on Maurice's show last year. And I'm so glad that I got the invitation. And he was just the nicest guy ever. And
Yeah, he's
we,
he's dope, man. Shout
we
out
had,
Maurice
had a
Joshua.
great time. You know what's funny? He's like, I walk into his house and he's
hmm
got my music playing. Like, how inviting is that? That is so welcome.
Uh,
He's like, I've been playing your Bandcamp page all day long. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my
that's
God.
beautiful.
Yeah, it
That
really
really
was.
is.
I mean, talk about making a person feel at home. And we just like, I mean, I had to remind him, like, we met years ago, but it's okay. Um, it's, meet so many people. It's crazy. I'm like, I actually met you through Jamie Principal. He's like, oh my God.
uh,
Yeah, we all had dinner together. And it's just a funny story. But Jamie was trying to get me into the production house that they were all working at, ID Music,
mhm.
and I was already working at another studio. So it's almost like, hey, we're trying to steal you from this other studio, and I'm like, I can't do that to these guys. They've invested
Yeah.
so much into me. They built this MIDI production Studio B just for me. I can't
hmm
turn back on them. I have to. I'll come and hang out with you guys and see what you guys are about, but
hmm
I would have been there with Maurice and Steve Hurley and Jamie. You know, Do I kick myself? Yeah.
Mm,
But
mm,
I made the choice because it was the right thing to do.
yeah.
I needed these guys just did all this for me. I have to stay here. I have to.
But
And
I think it's a testament to your character, Louis, honestly, because you hear and it's a part of your story, one part of your story. I won't say
yeah.
it's your story. It's one part of your story about like, seeing the different like pitfalls of the music industry early on and seeing
Oh,
how people kind of like, kind of get over on each other, and how it's personal, but it's not personal at the same time.
it isn't exactly. That
Yeah.
keep that in mind. Yes, yes, yeah.
Like
It's
it's
almost it's almost comical.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Like it's personal, but it's not personal, but it's like bit like you like I feel like I'm realizing that now too, like with DJing because it's like, certain people be like, yeah, yeah, I love what you're doing, da, 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 but won't book you at all. Or certain people will be, or certain people, will, like do something the same day that you told them that you were gonna do an event. Or, stuff like that. That goes on a lot. But I think like
Oh,
it's a
I got stories. I got stories for you. I'm not going to tell them on the air. I will. I could talk to you privately. But yeah, and
sport.
the thing is, it's there's a lot of disappointment. But the thing you have to remember is don't hold on to that. It's just
Mm,
part of the way stuff is.
yeah,
Whether you're in this industry or in another industry, stuff like
yeah.
that all the time. It's just part of life, and you just kind of have to roll with it. Learning
Mm,
to roll with it and learning to be able to adapt to change is
mm.
important. Um, and that's what's going to make you survive all of that stuff because it's just bullshit, and the bullshit doesn't have any weight. It doesn't have any weight.
And
It's
that's
bullshit.
exactly what I was gonna say. Like, why? Like, I really respect your character because you're living proof of that. Because you're still here, and no disrespect to people that had previous record labels that was getting over on people. I'm not gonna because I know the history. I know certain labels did people.
Yeah,
But nobody talks about those people. No,
yeah,
no, except a lot of times when it's something negative. But I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like with like your name, like people still mention you, still talk about you because of how you've been able to reinvent yourself. Like, and you've really spoken to that, like you've really spoken to, reinvention. And that's something that I had to do when I got clean and everything like that. And I really respect that. I think like that's one of the, greatest characteristics anybody could have, and I think that's like a big piece of your story. One thing I want to ask, another like thing is why do you feel like house music has gotten such a resurgence, and what role do you feel like your record label is playing in the local scene now? Like, because I feel like there's a new renaissance in Chicago. From what I see, I follow this page on Instagram, Sanido Inez, and
Hmm.
she makes amazing flyers and stuff like that. I see a lot of events going on in the city. Is it like a renaissance, and how is your record label playing into that? Like,
Well, I think people are discovering our label, uh,
hmm
and I think people are looking for something new. Now, we have a couple of different distributors for our music, and there's one that really gets our music out to a lot of people and a lot of newer people. Um, so it lands us on playlists, and those playlists get in the hands of people that are looking for something different, like not the tried and true stuff, but something that's actually different. And I think we offer that. Chicago, I do think, and I don't know if it's just Chicago, but let's just talk about that for now. I do think that there's a resurgence because of younger people coming into the scene, and they're just doing their own thing. It's not like they're waiting for anybody to say, hey, we want you to play at our place. No, they're throwing their own parties. That's what
yeah,
it, and I think people are looking not for these big nightclub experiences. I think they're looking for smaller, curated events where it's more about the music. I mean, the last couple of parties I've gone to, people have really, really been into the music, and I didn't see any phones anywhere. Nobody's up there taking selfies or taking videos of the DJ. They're dancing, and
Mhm.
that so refreshing to see. Um, I love it, and it was at one of those events that Jesse and I were standing there, and these guys came over to us like, "Are you guys Basement Tapes?" And we're like, "Yeah." We were
Mm.
shocked. We were shocked. So yeah, people know about us. They're starting to discover us. A lot of the media that we put out looks different from everybody else's, so I think that might have something to do with it too.
Mhm.
Uh, Plus, like I think our name is just getting out there. So it's exciting to see. I don't know what's going to happen. The summer's coming up, 6 or 7 months from now. So it's another time to be out there and enjoying ourselves. So um,
One thing I was like really appreciate about your sound, and let me know, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it's very soulful, but it's also it has like a jazzy feel to it. Like it's almost like a more soulful Saint Germain in a way.
oh, interesting that you say that because Jesse and I have been really studying jazz lately. So
Hmm.
you're hearing it creep into the music. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah, 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 yeah.
I would not consider myself a jazz musician at all, but
No,
I'm
yeah.
studying the theory,
Hmm.
and in studying it, it becomes part of you, and then it comes out where it comes out. Um, we're trying to make a little bit our music a little more complicated and
Mm,
interesting. I'm really excited about this project that's coming out next year. Um,
mm,
Vocalist named So Darling. The name of the song is Teardrops on My Pillow,
mm,
and she's a jazz vocalist, and
mm.
you're going to hear. I mean, she's phenomenal. Um, I just can't wait. I can't wait for this to be released. I might send you a snippet of it. So,
Okay.
but I have to edit the vocals a little bit more. Um, but yeah, it's I think what you're hearing is that influence. So it's part of that thing that I was telling you, like constantly learn.
Mm,
You always every week, seriously. And if you ever come up against a brick wall, you're like, I don't know what to do this week. Watch some music theory. Watch a tutorial on production. Do something that takes you to the next level. The reason we get stopped in our tracks or like, oh man, I don't know what to make, it's because we don't have enough tools in our arsenal. So if you
mm,
keep
mm,
learning something new every week, you're adding a new tool, a new tool, a new
mm,
tool. And you can just start grabbing from these different tools that you have and applying it to your project. That's the only reason people get blocked, I think, is because they don't have enough tools. Maybe the tool is an inspiration. Maybe you just need a night out listening to other people play, but
mm,
add that. Um, I think uh, what we do is just try to advance how we sound, and we look for other people that kind of fit that mold. I mean, we've been getting demos this week, for releases for next year, and the stuff we're getting is really exciting because you can tell that they've been listening to our label and
mm,
understand the kind of music we're releasing. I do take that as a compliment that you said that we're more soulful, jazzy. That's a huge compliment because that is our goal, is to be lean more into that way. Although I'm not gonna say that we're not gonna throw out some tech tracks or something like that now and then.
yeah.
I love that stuff too.
Hmm.
But playing and writing, I lean more towards that, like soulful, jazzy kind of stuff. Um,
Mm,
that's where my heart lies. It just, I don't know. It, it automatically comes out. I don't know. I don't know
mm.
what it is.
Do you feel like Latin music, like growing up, do you feel like that, element of music played a role in your sound too?
Um, I see. I grew up with listening to a wide variety of music. It
Yeah.
was, the salsa. It was a lot of jazz. Um, it was classic rock. It was like Broadway soundtracks. Uh,
Mm,
like my dad had this vast record collection, and
wow.
I was always like I didn't necessarily put those records on, but I would hear them when he put them on. Oh, a lot
Mhm.
of classic Mexican classics from like the 1930s and 40s, and I mean there's a lot of soul in that too. The emotion that these vocalists would sing
Hmm.
with, and that kind of is like the I'm an amalgamation of all of that, like that kind
Mm.
of background. Because I wasn't just exposed to one kind of music; it was a lot of different kind of stuff. Um,
Mm.
I and me growing up as a kid, I liked pop music. Um,
Yeah.
I stumbled onto this radio station when I was like 13 years old, and it was WGCI, the Disco Connection station, and
Mm.
I heard Silver Convention, Fly Robin Fly, and I got hooked. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I that hooked me onto disco music, and it just like my everything. I started collecting everything disco that I could. Every Donna Summer album I can get my hands on. I would collect Georgia Moroder,
Mm.
um, anything on Philadelphia records, like anything on Prelude Records. Like I was just collecting all of that stuff. Um, so I just it's been a journey. It really has been a journey.
That's amazing, man. I feel like I don't know, man. I'm gonna be so mad at myself if I forget to ask something, and then I'm like, damn, like you should, you know what I'm saying? Because I had like majority of my questions, man. It's funny you really answered them even without me even asking certain questions. Like you already like knew what to say, and knew what I was kind of like leaning towards. So with that, I just really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and definitely glad we were able to connect and want to stay connected, man. I really, of
We're gonna stay connected, and I appreciate you, man. I thank you so much for asking me, for thinking about me, and having me on here.
course, of
Seriously, man.
course, it
I
was
think
an
what
honor.
you're doing, well, the honor's mine too, and I think what you're doing is important.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that you're yet another voice that's taking the time to document this. I
Mhm.
think it's super important. And don't stop, man. Don't stop.
No, I'm not gonna stop. This gave me like the battery I needed, man. Because like it's like I try to be very selective with who I interview and who I speak to because I want this to I don't want to just like interview somebody because I'm like, oh, this is a DJ or oh nah, like and like to interview somebody like of your stature, like I feel like is really amazing, man. And like, just not even because you were in those same rooms, but just because of the legacy you've made. You're a testament to always like reinvention and stuff like that and just
I, you know,
maintain positivity.
I think you're the first person that has said that, and I never even thought about it that way. But
Yeah,
but that is what it is. It is, and I appreciate you seeing that. Um,
most definitely.
it's kind of like check something off with me that I hadn't thought about before. So I appreciate that. That's
Most
a
definitely.
really good insight. That's a really good insight.
Yeah, for real. And I think I'm able to see that because like I'm in that like I've gone through that too, like with my addiction recovery and all that type of stuff and being like, okay, well, I'm still gonna do this,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but I'm reinventing myself at the same time. I'm this is how I'm gonna do it. Like so I really just appreciate you being on here and us being able to connect it. It really you know is a positive moment in this whole series and for me, so thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it, man.
Most definitely, most definitely. And yeah, I'm gonna send you all that stuff too. So
All right. All right. Well, we're going to keep in touch. Do not forget that. Okay. And let's touch base also on production because I want
I'm
to follow.
sending you those songs right after we get off of this.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'm going to send you the Afro picture.
Please do.
You're gonna get a kick out of it.
Send me that and send me like what like more pictures. Like I want to see pictures of like you were mentioning you and your friend. I would love to see a picture of y'all like with the makeup or dressed up and all that. Like,
Okay. I have very, very few pictures of that because remember, we didn't document this stuff back then. So,
ah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, I have a couple of like hard copies I might have to scan. But yeah. And you know what's funny is that my friend that I mentioned, I let him borrow some pictures and I never got them back. And now he says he lost them. So, like, those are gone forever. Like, those other ones, there's some of the cool ones, but I will. But Thank you for having me on here, and thank you for the dialogue today, man. I appreciate you.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. All right, man.
All right. Have a good night.
Peace.
All right.